Eat, rest, reassess. All right, we're here. We are here. We're kind of doing a laid-back podcast style.
We're going to discuss.
We're going to discuss.
Discussion.
Just a discussion about
rest
and
recovery.
The importance.
And the importance of rest.
Of rest and recovery. Because it is important. And I think that in our day and age, it's neglected a lot. I mean, I know for myself, I have a tendency to just like stay up as late as possible because I feel like I have to get all the things done.
We always want to push forward, move faster, do more. It's all about more. And sometimes it's about less.
I agree. And I think that this kind of fervor to get more done, to be faster, better, go farther, it'll tip into your bike touring trip. Because obviously this channel is the Rad Bike Adventure. You clicked on the video. Hello, welcome.
Welcome.
Who are you?
I'm Darren.
I'm Ryan.
And we make the Rad Bike Adventure.
Rad Bike Adventure. So we've gone on some long trips together. And this is our channel where we lend advice about bike touring and bike packing, anything bike lifestyle related. And yeah, we're talking all about rest. And I think that sometimes with this kind of idea that you have to get so much done, that can go into your bicycle trip where you want to do as much mileage as possible every day and you feel like you can't take any rest days because you have to go. You need to see as much as possible. And I think this video is just about showing that you can scale it back and still have an amazing experience and possibly even, I would argue, a better experience taking those rest days.
I don't think people take into account that they will need rest. And I would factor that into planning your trip because a lot of you out there will say, well, what if I only have 1 week or 2 weeks on my bicycle trip? I can't take a bunch of rest days. Well, you don't necessarily have to take a full rest day. You just do less miles a few times and that could be your recovery day. It doesn't necessarily have to be a complete rest day.
Yeah.
But you need to have that in the back of your mind is, I'll need to rest, and what if you're injured? What if you're sick? I would pad your trip with the thoughts that, you may need to take a day off the bike.
Yes, totally. I definitely agree. And we found, well, I'll just kind of start with like what our routine is because this is a bike touring channel. I think that's often a question is like, how do you guys schedule your trips or how do you schedule your days? It's kind of a 2-in-1 here we're going for, but generally we would ride, I think like 4 days was our common, like 4 days, consecutive days. And then we'd take a day off or a half day. And sometimes I would be working on the video. So sometimes my rest day was like a body rest, but also like work day. So I feel like I didn't actually get a lot of rest on the trip, which is probably why I feel so tired. But yeah, I think that was our basic structure, right? It was like 4 days on or 5 days.
And I think the longest we ever went was like 7 or 8 days because we were cycling with other people that were on a time crunch. And so we thought, hey, let's keep up with them and see how it goes. But definitely by day 7 or 8, I think we were ready to take like a day off the bike. And we had already been on the trip for like a year and a half and we're totally, fit, had the stamina, just wanted to take a break and actually see the town or, go for a hike or go for that swim in the swimming hole that someone talked about. Our trip was about stopping and seeing people too. So we were seeing friends and family and we were also staying with hosts. And so it kind of stunk if you only stayed that one night and then boosted the next morning because you never really got to know the people either. And a lot of the times they had suggestions for things around their town or that region. And then we went and did those mountain bike trips or we went to that waterfall or we went to the farmer's market the next day. And that just made for a much broader trip than just a cycle trip. So, there are people out there that are like, I want to crank out the miles. I want my trip to be all about
only
biking.
Cycling. Yeah.
But if you want to go on a cycle tour, you're touring the world. So
you might as well stop and see some stuff.
Exactly. So keep that in mind. And you don't
like you were saying before, like just do a shorter day so then your body can recover. Because we did meet plenty of people who were like, how do you do this so long? Like, how did you go over a year? Like, I don't think I could do it.
Or injured or sick.
Yeah.
Or,
right.
Like, they had all these negative things that happened to them.
Yeah. So like my knees, I couldn't do it that long because my knees or my wrists or my hands or whatever. And I think that because we did take a lot of rest days, that helped us to continue on as long as we did without really any incidents. Like, injury-wise, you had just been recovering from an ACL surgery.
And the bike trip actually helped.
It helped, yeah. Because it was like slow and steady. And again, we weren't just like, okay, 80 miles every day. I did that once. Wait, before I talk about that, I did want to point out that I'm sure some people are typing in the comments right now, like, those don't sound like rest days. Like, you were still going and doing other stuff. Is that even resting? But I would say that rest can be so many different forms. Like, it can have many different ways to look. And if you're just cycling every day, maybe the rest day is that you go on a little hike somewhere and you're resting your body from what it's used to doing. So that's like that overuse. But so the time that I did get injured was when I did the AIDS life cycle. From San Francisco to LA, you bike 500 and, what was it, 525 or 545 miles in 7 days?
5.5, yeah.
It was a lot of long days.
Yeah, it's 100 plus days every day.
Not every day, but a lot. Yeah, a few of the days were 100 plus, and they were all big.
Okay, the other day was like 90.
I wasn't carrying gear, so I thought like, oh, I'll be totally fine, because I was at the time giving bike tours in LA. I was commuting all around. I was riding like 30 to 40 miles a day anyway.
On hills.
But this was something different. Just having that 7 consecutive days, Darren remembers, by the end of it, I could barely walk.
On day, saw you on the second to last day. And your ankle was toast.
It was an old injury that had just completely flared up because I had no rest. I did not have enough rest. I wasn't getting enough sleep, which is something that we should talk about here. Like, the physical that you need to, we did a whole other video about how you can recover, and one of the main things is rest and sleep. You have to get enough sleep, and I was not getting enough sleep. Don't be afraid to sleep. Yeah. 10, 12 hours, go for it.
Every cycle tourist we talked to, they were all ashamed about how much sleep they got and how many hours of sleep. And they were very reluctant to tell us how many hours, but we were very forthright and we're like, oh no, we definitely get like 10 hours of sleep. Yeah. Sometimes we'll get 12.
I think it was the Americans that were resisting, right? Yeah. We have this like, we have to be productive at all times.
Even on our vacations. So take the rest days, whatever that means to you. Maybe it is just hanging out wherever you're staying with your host. Maybe it's just sightseeing or just riding around the town. Getting like your laundry done. That. Yeah. And sleeping in. And eating.
Yes. I mean, you know, because you're in medicine, right? Like, physically, you literally can only push your body so far. Obviously, like, elite athletes train to be able to push themselves farther. But for just the average person that's going out there, you actually need rest, right? Like, you can't, like, you have to replenish your glycogen stores. You're gonna have, like you were saying, like, overuse injuries, and it's like, it's normal to have some sort of pain every now and then, right? Like, I'm a little bit sore here or whatever, but we get a lot of people complaining or saying that they like, oh, my knee injury acts up, you know, when I do on these long rides, or, you know, my ankle or my foot, or, you know, and they talk about, oh, I need to like change how my bike is, or you know, like fit. You do need to get your fit of their bike. But sometimes I think, okay, you already went down the road with the bike, you might be doing too much. Yeah. And just scale it back. There's no harm in scaling it back. And we did have to do that once on our trip. I was getting like a knee thing, how common, and I had tried everything with the saddle adjustment and it wasn't working, and I had kind of tweaked it when we went through that sandy area in Australia. Should like link that video up here. That day was a struggle, but we literally just had to take days off. I tried to cycle through it and I was like, you know what, body is saying rest. So I think we took 2 completely full rest days, maybe even 3. And then by the time we got back on the bike, I was like, oh, it's better. I literally just needed to rest. It's like, that was all it was. So a lot of times the rest can actually solve a lot of those problems that we think, like, oh, it's just not going away. Like a tendonitis or a bursitis. It's a chronic injury from cycling every day. So take a day off. Well, and also just like immune system. We never got sick on our trip, except for the very last bit. And I think we got like food poisoning or something. Food poisoning. But up until that point, we never got the flu. We never got a cold. You had a little bit of a cough in Tasmania, but you didn't like feel terrible. It was when we stayed in a hostel, and I think I got a hostel cough. And we literally were only there for like a couple nights. Diagnosis. Yeah, I definitely got a hostel cough. But you were actually okay. And so I felt fine. Like, I think that because we rested a lot during our trip, like, people always think like, how did you do this epic trip? It's like, we rested a lot, but our immune system was okay. Because we weren't like going 15 days in a row with absolutely no rest. And we met a lot of people who are either burnt out. Yeah. It's from talking to them. Not to say that everyone's burnt out, but there was like quite a few people that were burnt out. Or we met people on the road. They were on long trips. Not like just like 2-year trips. These are like long distance, you know. The short trips, no. I mean, we even took basically a month off when we were in China. It's like, I was still working on the videos and everything, but we took a month off there, and it wasn't like we were like, oh, now I don't want to cycle anymore. We were actually it gets you actually more excited to cycle when you take those rest days. You really appreciate what you have on the bike, especially when you start thinking like, oh, this is such a pain. Like, where am I going to camp? What am I going to eat? I'm so tired. when you take those days off, you're like, you know what, that actually is better. Like, I want to keep doing that.
Right. Because a lot of people are probably worried. They're like, oh, I want my momentum. You know, I don't want to lose that momentum of cycling every day.
Right.
But honestly, we never lost that momentum. On the days off, we truly were like, you know what, I'm excited to get back on the bike and on the road and keep going forward, keep seeing new things. It never, well, I mean, obviously we kept the trip going.
Yeah,
it never was
we
like,
wanted to keep going,
oh, you know what, actually this is better. Never. I was always excited to get back on the bike.
We've kind of been talking a lot about the physical aspects of
and we're kind of dipping into
taking rest. Yeah, dipping a toe into the mental aspect as well. But I think that is connected to burnout because I guess that is, right? Yeah. That's more of a mental thing. It's definitely good to have that little bit of reset, I would say. And yeah, just feeling revitalized and excited again for your tour, because that's how it should be. It shouldn't be something that you feel like, oh, I have to be doing this. You should be excited to be on your bike every day. And so if it stops being fun, then that's a good sign that you just need to take a break. It's not that
you need
bad
to eat.
You need to eat something, right?
Eat and rest.
Yeah, eat and rest.
And then reassess. There we go.
Oh, eat, rest, reassess. Oh, Darren. Hashtags. I like that.
Are we still doing that?
No, I think we're dating ourselves now. Okay, what else?
We're geriatric.
That's kind of it.
We're geriatric millennials.
Oh yeah, but I was gonna talk about our routine, because we talked about just basically like where we would rest, but just like the daily routine. We would generally get up in the morning, have some brekkie, and then we'd usually cycle for like 2 hours, and then take a little rest stop.
We'd have our brunch snack.
Yeah, a little snack. Usually kind of stretch, get things moving off the bike, take some photos, maybe film a little bit, and then usually declothe. Yeah, if we were too hot. Like another hour or two, and then have like a lunch. And usually for lunch we'd stop for like a half hour if we had a long day, and sometimes an hour if we had a shorter day, or we were in a really nice spot and we just kind of wanted to chill. And then we'd pedal for usually, say, like a couple more hours, 2 to 3 after that.
Yeah.
And then that would be like when we're gonna stop to camp.
To try to find a campsite or grab dinner, or you know, I'd always try to find like somewhere to get food.
Yeah, near the campsite. Unless we were bikepacking, then obviously you kind of have to have everything ready to go. But yeah, I would say that was our typical kind of
like
day.
Our bike touring routine.
Yeah, and sometimes we'd have like one more break in there if we had a longer day. So like after lunch we'd pedal for a couple hours and then take like one little break. And again, sometimes it was just like stopping to take a photo, but even just stopping just to kind of, again, like get off the bike for a second, stretch things out. I think that helps.
It does help. And just realize anytime you do take a break, it's going to be 15 minutes.
Yeah, and 15 minutes is a great number actually, because I think after that is when you start to feel kind of tight getting back on the bike. So I know some people will set like an alarm.
That's smart.
Set an alarm for getting off the bike just to smart. You can like keep things moving, rip the Band-Aid off, because
you'd be surprised how quickly those minutes go by. Yeah, and you're like, oh shoot, it's been 30 minutes. We gotta go.
And that's when it starts tipping into like, oh, you should just like camp here for the night.
Yeah, this is a nice spot. We can just do a half day,
and that's fine too, right? Like we've done that where we're just like, actually, this is a nice spot. Let's just stay here. Yeah. It's the great thing about not having set plans. Stay tuned for that in another video. The importance of not planning. I should make that video.
Yeah,
and Darren, you're gonna make the importance of planning. That'll be your video.
I'll be the devil's advocate.
Have we touched on all the things?
I think so.
I feel like we have. Yeah. So this is a good opportunity, I would say, to announce that, speaking of the importance of rest, we're going to take a little break on the channel. I just realized that I've been making videos pretty consistently. There's been a few weeks where I didn't post, but usually that was because something else was going on in life. But yeah, I haven't taken
any time off for like 2 years.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a month off. Probably like a month of, just ish. We'll see. And then we'll be back refreshed. If you are part of our Patreon crew, I just want to shout you all out. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. That means the world to us, and anyone else that has donated or bought stickers or t-shirts. We love you all.
It really helps with the channel and helps keep us going.
Yeah.
And it's a nice way to donate to the channel and give a little...
And shout out the rad bike adventure to the world.
Right.
But yeah, so I'll be posting a little bit in Patreon, so I won't be leaving Patreon completely. I'll be touching base with you guys, giving you little updates. But for YouTube, just going to be taking a break for a month, and probably on Instagram as well. But then we will be back at it. So the importance of rest.
Yes.
We need it.
We all need it.
And these dogs need it too. Look at these.
Oh my God, look at that. Is that not...
The importance of rest.
Dogs know how to rest. We should follow suit. That one She tries.
She tries. This one's getting it better.
Yeah. This one understands. Mia knows. Mia gets it.
Speaking of which, I think it's time to take a little nap. So everybody, remember to rat on.
Sleep every once in a while.
Yeah, sleep every once in a while. All right. Good night.